Hello traders, welcome to the weekly outlook and setups volume 284. You know what we're going to be doing, diving straight into the market, see what happened this week, and of course what we can expect for the upcoming one. It's a brand new month as well, so we're going to have a look at the monthly time frame, and of course with NFP out of the way, it is really time to focus for the brand new month of May. So let's get into it. Of course, we always get starting with the economic calendar to potentially try to frame our trading week. Now we can see on Monday we have services PMI here for the US dollar. Late trading on a Monday, for example, if you're trading index futures, that could be nice. But of course, no other kind of news. We have 2 bank holidays, so Monday looks quite dead. And I usually do not trade Forex on a Monday. Tuesday as well, no USD news, no Euro news, nothing, JPY bank holiday. So if you're trading the yen pairs, right, Monday and Tuesday, definitely give them a break, right, because we have bank holiday in Japan. And then pretty much the highlight of this week, interest rate decision here from the Fed and the press conference, okay? Actually, the press conference pretty much and the statement are the big things, right? We are expecting here to keep the rates the same. Is there going to be a change? Is there not going to be a change? Of course, we're going to see. But when they actually start talking, that is where the real volatility kicks in. So Wednesday, potentially, if you're trading like in London session, be very careful because the market is very likely going to be waiting for this, right? And I would even suspect that Tuesday is going to be a little bit choppy, awaiting that Fed release. And then the day after is probably going to be very nice. Now here we have Bank of England interest rates. We can see that they are going to be cutting it by 25 basis points, and of course that is going to bring in a lot of volume within the pound. And then we have some USD news here, and then Friday also looks like a pretty kind of basic day. Some CAD news here, not much USD news. So the highlight of this week is Wednesday, right? And when you have the Fed interest rate being released, usually the best days to trade are Thursday and Friday. Because of course, being Monday and Tuesday kind of looking a little bit slow, they might consolidate, they might manipulate, then Wednesday is going to make the move. And then usually after Wednesday, pretty much Thursday and Friday, then you can be looking to capitalize on that expansion candle of the weekly. Okay, so that's kind of how we look like. Really full focus on Wednesday, and then until then, make sure to take it nice and slow. There are so many prop firms out there, but the one I prefer is FundedNext. First off, they have multiple plans, but my favorite is the Stellar plan because you actually get paid to pass your challenge, which is a huge incentive to treat it professionally. They offer a 95% profit split and payouts hit your bank account in under 24 hours, or else you get paid $1,000. FundedNext offers competitive profit targets and crazy affordable pricing. Like for just $32, you can control $5,000 account on their Stellar Lite plan. It's crazy value and they accept all payment methods, credit card, PayPal, even crypto. FundedNext is well established in the UAE with a strong reputation, rated 4.6 on Trustpilot with over 27k reviews. I trade with them, my community trades with them, and we love them. Now it's your turn. Use the link in the description plus code FANATICFN for 120% refund when you pass your challenge. Before we get started, make sure to join my free school community. It's an absolutely incredible, positive community with a lot of value from everybody. And the classroom here is a full course that I've never shared anywhere. So make sure to join. It's the first link in the description. Let's start with the DXY on the monthly time frame. Now, of course, right now we closed an absolutely beautiful bearish candle here within the month of April. A lot of sellers entering this market right now, and we can see we are actually not really closing below this 2023 swing low. Now, of course, guys, really I don't like going to the yearly time frame, but you know that I use a lot of imbalances, and we're tapping into that yearly imbalance, which is super interesting to see if it's actually going to hold. We can see, for example, we had one here in 2015 that got tapped in 2018, and then pretty much we actually moved higher from it. So let's see, this is quite an interesting one. Now, if you pretty much study the candle anatomy, okay, every single candle, no matter what the time frame is going to start and it's going to create a wick, and then potentially it can continue, right? Every single candle you see here, it has usually, right, it has a wick on the top and the bottom, okay? So we just opened the new monthly candle, and the market is potentially right now creating a monthly high, and if the market is going to be bearish, we can expect a potential expansion and then of course a little bit of a pullback, okay? And then we're going to be having potentially another bearish monthly candle. Now, we do have this monthly bearish imbalance that is all the way up there, so I wouldn't necessarily expect for a market to pull back all the way up here. But of course, a little bit of reservation that I have is kind of the overall development of the DXY as a currency, right? You can see since 2022 here, we have been consolidating and kind of we took liquidity here, then we went down, then chop, right? Then we took out this low here, then we went all the way up. And just when you think that it's gonna go higher, it just whoop, flushes down right now. But this is really based on the fundamentals. And right now it's taking out the lows. But imagine, for example, the US starting to throw a little bit more positive news, the dollar starting to become a little bit stronger. I wouldn't really be surprised if this one again starts pulling back into the range. But now, of course, how are we going to know this is by, of course, focusing on the lower time frames, because the lower time frames are building up the higher time frames. Okay, the higher time frames do, of course, hold a lot of power, but essentially the very recent sentiment of a market is going to determine where the higher time frames go, right? So for example, right now, if Trump comes out and really fixes everything, right, it doesn't matter if the monthly is bearish, and it doesn't matter that this push was bearish, the market is just simply going to turn, right? And if you're just fixated on the higher time frames as well, you also don't see that lower time frame picture, which is just as important. Now, we're pulling back into that weekly imbalance and we're already rejecting from it, which is very interesting. So I'm quite curious for potential shorts on the DXY. But first, what we have to see is this daily bullish imbalance fail as well, because what are we getting right here is we're getting a little bit of a bullish daily sentiment into a bearish weekly zone. Now, how do we know if that weekly bearish zone is going to work? Well, we need to see the market show it to us. Okay, and this is what I call here pretty much as a supply and demand sandwich, wherein the market is stuck between two imbalances like this, and of course is going to try to still pick a decision where it wants to go. Because again, you can see if you tap into the weekly and you really rush to take a short, well, you get hit break even here, right? Because the market taps into that imbalance and very strongly reacts. Now here we had a little bit of a fall imbalance, but that was already tapped us into the daily, and then the daily caused a lot of pop here on a Friday. So again, right, multiple things can happen right now, but my short scenario will be if the market breaks below this here. Because if the market breaks below this swing low here, that is going to start exposing all of these lows, and potentially then I would know, okay, the market is starting to become bearish. Okay, but if the market kind of starts to pick up a little bit bullish and starts coming deeper inside that weekly imbalance, this can absolutely happen, and I'm going to tell you why as we start covering right now EU and GU, because they still haven't tapped into their weekly imbalances. Okay, and then of course when EU and GU tap into these imbalances, then if we start getting the shift, then I think the DXY could also potentially start falling as well. So these are my two scenarios right now, right? If I'm too short, I would definitely need to see the market make a lower low here and really invalidate that daily imbalance. And of course, if it goes higher, I wouldn't rush to start taking longs, but I would really observe EU and GU. So let's have a look at them right now. All right, let's check out EU. Now, again, an absolutely beautiful monthly candle creating a monthly bullish imbalance, suggesting that, of course, on the monthly time frame, currently the buyers are in control. Now, if we just look a little bit to the left, there is this very old swing high that the market took out, rejected. And right now, again, as I told you on the DXY, the monthly candle is opening. It can make a low, and then it of course, could expand to attack the previous monthly high. But of course, we should focus a little bit more on the lower timeframes as well, because they are what essentially is going to guide us into these sort of hard timeframe levels. And we have this weekly bullish imbalance. Now, remember what I told you, DXY already tapped the weekly, EU has not. Okay, so that means two things. On EU, the market can go up without tapping the weekly because the DXY did, or EU is going to tap the weekly and then the DXY is going to tap it again, right, and come in a little bit deeper. So really key to observe, and judging by that weekly candle, I really think it's a very low hanging fruit for the market to just tap into that weekly. And look at that beautiful daily imbalance rejection here. Absolutely beautiful. There was probably a good short setup to be taken here. The market coming in, massively rejecting as well, also from this order block here. Really good confluence. And I would say right now that is just making absolute sense that the market taps into this weekly, and then from there, guys, right, from there, we got to look for the shift, right? We got to look for the shift to truly confirm that the market wants to go higher from that weekly imbalance. Now, of course, you can see if we drop to the Volatility time frame, there were some crazy news here. I think we had some the trade talks between China and US commence. I think they talked about this fentanyl thing. I don't know, right? But there were some sort of news from China and the market really popped. Indices also popped, but then we can see that was immediately met with a lot of resistance from the daily zone and the daily order block, right? And we also tapped into that volatility zone, so that is already taken. So to me right now, this is a very clear draw on liquidity here, right? So if we can manage to take a quick short into that low, into the weekly imbalance, that is a very nice kind of an intraday trade. Okay, and then after we tap into that weekly imbalance, then of course, guys, the volatility time frame, the 1 hourly time frame, you have to see the market again show you that it wants to go higher, and then I'm gonna long it, because guess what, the sentiment could change right now, and the market could, as I told you, can take liquidity and it can start pulling back all the way down to that monthly. Okay, but we do not know yet. So this weekly imbalance is absolutely key to observe, and if we start seeing signs that the market wants to hold from it, then I do believe we can take some good longs. Okay, now there is a current short already ongoing, so I kind of really like this setup. Like if this was a live trading market right now, I would absolutely be looking to short this one, but again, this one developed pretty much quite late here on a Friday, so really not worth it to be taking it like this. So if there is, for example, even a quality bearish imbalance formed here within the first 4 hours of the week, that can even be a very nice Monday trade here on EU, short into that weekly imbalance. So let's see. This is my outlook on EU. I really like a short into the weekly, and then when the weekly gets tapped, then I would be looking for potential reversals. But of course, we have the Fed rate, and we probably have to wait for that to truly see if the market is going to reverse from that macro level. All right, let's check out GU as well. Now, of course, we have the interest rate for the pound this week, so make sure to be watching for that. Again, sweeping that 2024 high, leaving a little wick here. And then, of course, the new monthly candle opens and is starting to go bearish. Now, of course, this bearishness, is it pulling back in order for later to start expanding? Now, of course, we're going to know that in a couple of weeks, right? The same thing here, weekly bullish imbalance that is not tapped yet. EU is very close to tapping it. This one still has a little bit more space towards that weekly imbalance. However, very similar price action here. We're having that daily bearish imbalance potentially guiding us into the weekly. Okay, but we can see it was a breakaway gap, so the market did not really pull back into it. So we can observe then the 4 hourly time frame. And yeah, the 4 hourly time frame had this pretty much going on to Friday, but it was a pretty choppy delivery here, right? It tapped in again, boom, 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 then a massive wick up, right? If you try to take a short within here, you probably, yeah, if you took, for example, this one here, right, you probably, oops, that was the wrong one, you probably hit take profit at the liquidity here, right? But it didn't take liquidity. But yeah, so pretty nasty Friday here if you did trade, which I did not. And yeah, so currently we don't have a hourly bearish imbalance to potentially guide us into that weekly, but a very similar outlook to EU. If this one kind of starts going lower to create a little bit of a lower low, lower high situation, I would definitely be looking for that weekly imbalance to tap. And then from there, again, we're going to have to be looking at the overall picture of the markets, DXY, EU, GU, UJ, Aussie dollar, and everything to see if they're really going to start shifting that sentiment from these weekly imbalances, because every single one of these majors is having that weekly imbalance. Okay, so of course right now for the short-term trades, trading into that weekly imbalance sounds like a really nice deal. I really like EU because EU is already coming from that daily zone, and it has that ongoing zone going on, right? Tapping us into the weekly, while GU is of course making lower lows and lower highs, also coming from imbalances. But so yeah, this one can definitely also be shorted provided you get the opportunity. And then of course, as we tap into that weekly, then we can observe, is it going to shift, right? Or is it going to just continue going lower and starting to fill all of that empty space, right? We can even pull back all the way down to, for example, this order block here. So it could definitely dip a lot deeper than that weekly. So of course, this is why, again, guys, always follow your lower time frames, right? Just because you have a weekly zone here, right? Don't forget to watch out your 4 hourly and 1 hourly, because if these just remain bearish, well, this is who is currently in control, right? And it doesn't matter that there was a monthly or a weekly imbalance. If the current sentiment of the market, which is represented by the lower time frames, is actually bearish, then this is what you would really like to cover. And this is why I really don't like these kind of weekly outlooks, because I cannot give you much of a bias, because I'm really focused, for example, 4 hourly, 1 hourly time frame to really see what is going on right now. And if I tell you right now, hey, weekly zone, I'm looking for longs here, but the market like massively starts pushing below and really the 4 hourly is super bearish, well, I'm not really gonna pay attention to any longs, right? So hopefully you get the point. Aussie dollar, absolutely crazy monthly candle, massively bearish and then super massively bullish. That is a crazy candle after, of course, 3 months of a consolidation here, which is also quite crazy. Pretty much the whole quarter here, the whole Q1 was choppy, and then Q2 opens, shakes out the market. So Where to next? I mean, we have this monthly imbalance here that the market could potentially gravitate towards. It looks like right now we're getting a lot of bullish steam on the Aussie. Now again, like this is what currencies do. They kind of sweep highs, sweep lows, then of course reverse the opposing side. Right now again, you kind of think, oh, it's breaking this low, it's probably gonna go lower. No, right now it's coming back into the range. It might eventually end up even taking out that high. But of course, that is also going to depend on the DXY. Going on to the weekly time frame, we did have that weekly imbalance here that I probably looked to trade from last week, but no, the market didn't pull back into it. It just kind of kept carrying on higher. But then on the daily time frame, I'm currently absolutely not touching Aussie dollar because again, guys, if for me the daily time frame, if it's not clear, I don't touch it, right? I was literally waiting for the market to tap into that weekly and then maybe look for a long, but it never tapped and the daily time frame was absolutely choppy, which what immediately means is that the hourly time frame is also going to be extremely choppy, right? Down and up and chop and up and down. It's absolutely crazy, right? Now, on Friday, we kind of finished with taking out, like making a new weekly high. And now we have, for example, that forward imbalance. And I can definitely say, hey, like this is a very good longing area. Maybe take us into that upper imbalance. But longing so high at a hard high, above sweeping that liquidity here, I don't like it, right? I don't like longing higher highs like this. I like longing from higher lows, right? So if the market actually pulls back into that weekly and then it started moving higher, right? You're literally then trading that higher low formation, right? But the market just made a higher high on the macro scale, like a daily higher high, here even a major hourly higher high, for example. So you're literally hoping that it's just going to continue making that big higher high before you get a pullback, right? And then you pretty much trade on the way up. Okay, so that's kind of Aussie dollar. I can definitely say I'm seeing the longs here. It kind of looks pretty good. You overall have, for example, that overall break and retest level here, right? This whole range broken out. Is it gonna get retested? Are buyers gonna enter from here to push the market higher? Or if you see it start coming back into the range, right? Even making hourly bearish imbalances, then you can start targeting liquidity and maybe then it can push us into the weekly. Okay, so Aussie dollar for me, guys, I have not traded this one at all this year. It has been very choppy. It has been very unpredictable. I don't like it, so I'm not trading Aussie dollar at all. But this is of course how I currently look at it. I would really wish to see a little bit more clarity on the daily time frame because kind of the last imbalance we formed here was on the 15th of April, and then pretty much since then we've had 12 days that we really haven't done anything. So if it starts popping a little bit more on the daily time frame, I might look at it, but currently I am just avoiding it. Okay, so that's Aussie dollar. Kind of looks like long buys, but I'm really skeptical of this sort of setup here. But that would be something that I will be looking for. And once again, if that fails, we can start targeting the opposing liquidity. Let's quickly check out NZUSD. Now here we also have that monthly reaction area. The market didn't reach it and we're opening the new month right now, making a little bit of a wick to the downside. How does the weekly time frame look like? All right, so here on NZUSD, we are tapping that weekly imbalance, all right? So remember, Aussie dollar ran away from it, NZD dollar tapping into it. So what does that mean? Well, it immediately means that NZUSD is weaker than Aussie dollar, but it also means right now that if NZUSD tapped it and it's going to start expanding, that would mean that the Aussie dollar longs are actually going to be a pretty good idea. Okay, so of course right now we're tapping into that weekly, we're leaving a very nice pin bar rejection, and then on the daily time frame as well, like there is nothing bearish to potentially stop it. So it's a very nice what I call no struggle area towards that high. So if we start getting some hourly setups, right? So this is a setup that shouts at me actually, right? We came in here, we printed that first hourly imbalance suggesting bullish order flow, and then we actually printed the second one right here. We are also making a trend change, which is always a good idea. I do like this setup. I really do like it. Now, of course, you can look for a little bit more confirmation here because again, we're just offering that setup on the on the weekly closure. So I would wait, for example, for the market to open, maybe pull back a little bit, and then start giving me the bullish sentiment potentially on the 1 hourly time frame. Okay, and then potentially to trade higher. I do like this. I really do like this. And if of course this weekly imbalance is going to hold, we're gonna have a very nice target in the form of that weekly high, and then just above we have that monthly balance, which also means that Aussie dollar long trade, right? If NZUSD holds, then Aussie dollar will potentially also pop because currently it is actually more bullish than NZD/USD, because you can see Aussie dollar was kind of consolidating, making a little bit here low, higher low, while NZD/USD has been going down this week, right? It's a downtrend, lower highs and lower lows. Okay, so if you actually want to long one of these Aussie kind of NZD currencies, it's going to be better to long AU. But right now, NZD/USD is actually giving a pretty good setup. So let's see. I'm really long bias on that one. I would really want to be surprised if, of course, the market just starts flushing right now, because again, the market tends to change. Monday opens, something completely different happens, but this one looks like a very good setup, so I'm long biased on it. Let's see how it plays out. Let's have a look at gold. Now the monthly time frame closed again, a very massive large candle, but it left a very big wick here on top. It didn't make also a monthly bullish imbalance. That kind of sucks. Maybe on another broker there is, but here it's kind of looks like perfectly crossed. The new monthly candle is opening, and right now we are turning bearish. Now, of course, is this the bearishness before the massive push up? We are yet to see. Now, something very key is happening with gold this week is that we're finally pulling back. We finally had an actual bearish week, right? We had one right here, and then the next one absolutely expanded. We had a choppy week, well, not a choppy week, but a pretty big rejection here the previous week, and then this one is pulling us back into the weekly imbalances. Now, if you study this first one, kind of doesn't look like it's very nicely rejecting from it, right? If you compare this kind of price action to the price action on NZD/USD, if I ask you which one looks better, right? Well, NZD/USD to me looks very much better. Is that correct? We tapped in and we very nicely rejected outside of the imbalance, right? Gold is kind of breaking that first one. So is it going to head for the lower one? Is it going to head also for this order block, right? We don't know yet, okay? So I'm dropping onto the daily time frame, and what we see is, of course, a little bit more kind of bearishness here coming into these weeklies. So we actually formed that daily bearish imbalance into the weekly bullish. So this is what I call, again, that supply and demand sandwich situation, where you're like stuck between two hard time frame zones, and you really have to wait for the market to show you which one is going to pick up, right? Because we don't know. Again, as I told you, sure, this is a hard time frame zone that holds a lot of importance, but if the current sentiment of the market is actually bearish, right, that oftentimes makes the hard time frames change as well, right? So we have that daily imbalance. Now, is the market going to pull back into it and go short? It definitely could, but of course, if you listen to the hard time frames and the weekly imbalances, you would like to see this one to tap, react, break, right, and then start giving a high, higher low, higher high, okay? And then you pretty much know that the market is in a reversal mode. Okay, not on a reversal, but a continuation of the weekly. Okay, and now, of course, you can definitely observe the volatility time frame, but of course, when you have a weekly bullish and then a daily bearish, and then you go to the volatility time frame, you're starting to get way too many time frames into the equation, right? And yeah, currently we had that volatility bullish, but this volatility bullish is failing. And so where is gold right now? It's kind of in the middle between like too many zones, and currently it's not giving us like any new zones here, right? We had that bullish failed. So that gives us a little bit of a bearish confidence, but did we have any bearishness created here on a Friday? Not as well. So I cannot say that the market is really guiding me towards this low, okay, because it didn't really make a bearish imbalance, but I also cannot say that it's guiding me towards that high, because it's also not looking pretty bullish right now. So again, it's very much a little bit not 50-50 right now, but just the positioning of price is not amazing. Okay, multiple things can happen from here, right? We can pop higher, tap into the daily, again react, break, and then I'm going to be looking for longs. We can tap into the daily and reverse and take us into the weekly. We can right now from here make a little pullback, take the liquidity, tap into the weekly, and then from there start reversing. Okay, like there are so many things that could happen right now. Again, guys, this is why I always say the most important skill to master as a trader is to flow with the markets, because you never know what is going to happen, right? I cannot tell you right now what is going to happen because I just simply don't know. But as I see it develop, right, and as I see the market actually showing me what it wants to do, where does it want to go, where are the imbalances guiding me, where are the lower time frames guiding me towards these hard time frame zones, I am going to be taking trades based on what the market is telling me. All right, and that is what trading is all about. So again, for the guys who want to know where gold is going next, I don't know. I don't know, because it doesn't give me any clues right now. Like daily time frame a little bit bearish, but it's consolidation candle. We have a weekly below, but we're already tapping into that weekly. The volatility time frame as well. I always refer to the volatility time frame where the daily is a little bit kind of 50-50, but the volatility time frame is also not telling me anything, especially within the most recent price action. Okay, so You saw all the scenarios. I'm going to be waiting for some of these to happen. I'm going to be waiting for Monday to pass. I'm not trading on Monday, especially Forex and gold. I wait to see where it wants to drive me, and then from there, I start flowing with the market. So if I see something clear, I'm going to update you on Wednesday. Let's check out the JPY, starting with UJ. Now again, a very nice monthly bearish candle. What surprised me on that bearish candle is it did not take out the liquidity, just stopped very close to it, rejected, and right now it's turning bullish. Now again, this bullishness does not mean the market's gonna explode. It could mean that the market is creating the monthly high in order to flip and start going lower. Now that of course is going to depend whether the DXY is also going to start shifting lower, because here we kind of have a little bit of a first sign of for example, the DXY is tapping into that weekly imbalance just right now, and it's kind of rejecting from it. But USD JPY, right, you can see it's actually now again, I don't do this kind of I have different rules for the imbalances, right? So just because the market closed with a body above the imbalance right now, that does not mean it's invalidated, okay? But it's just the first sign that the sellers really did not enter from that weekly. Now, of course, above that, we have all the way here, but if the market gets all the way up here, I would start suspecting that it's actually going to take the liquidity, okay? So let's take it one step at a time. Dropping to the daily time frame also, this is where, again, it starts, again, we have this kind sort of supply and demand sandwich that we have across the majority of the pairs, where you're tapping into a weekly zone, but then on the one time frame lower, which is the daily, you're having a different sort of picture. And even if you look at the before that, right, there was a beautiful long trade here developing a little bit of a shitty timing, right? Daily shifting bullish, right? Again, you can look at structure in this case. Hey, structure is bearish, right? 50% tap, I'm gonna short. No, right? Structure is bearish, but I also look at order flow and momentum, right? And what was momentum currently doing? It was bullish pullback, massive long, and right now we got this pattern that to me confirms a bullish market. A low, high, higher low holding, making a new higher high, pretty much breaking above that high here, okay? And right now we have that daily bullish imbalance. So again, guys, like a lot of things can start happening here, and you can see the time frames are a little bit mixed up, right? Then we drop to the hourly time frame, and we have this hourly bearish. So we have weekly bearish, daily bullish, hourly bearish. Which one do we listen to, right? Well, you gotta listen to the market. That's the answer, okay? Because now from here, the market can respect that hourly zone, and then it might start guiding us lower into the daily. How are you gonna trade this? 1 hour and 15 minutes. All right. Now, of course, you can see there is absolutely no sign yet that this hourly zone is holding, and you also have to be wary of the 1 hourly, because at the same time, the 1 hourly here was pretty bullish. So if I'm looking to trade this one live, I would just be listening to all these imbalances and really see where the market is guiding me, because currently you can see the 1 hourly made a trend change, 1 hourly bullish. Now, if this 1 hourly bullish fails and prints bearish, then I'm going to start going to the daily. And then, of course, from the daily, the same thing repeats. I'm going to look at the 4 hourly time frame. I'm going to look for it to start shifting. And then, of course, I just flow with the market. So if you, again, look at this kind of piece of price action here, this is what I call kind of a little bit of a tricky market, right? It's not very indecisive, by the way. Okay, it's having a lot of clear momentum. The daily time frame is really giving me some clear price action. I do like the longs actually a little bit more than the shorts. Okay, but again, the exact positioning right now, because this kind of looks like a higher low, the market can definitely invalidate that forward imbalance and start heading higher, right, towards that high. But if that forward imbalance holds and we start seeing the bearishness, then I will target the daily, and then again from the daily I will be looking for potential move higher. But if we invalidate this one, then the liquidity is gonna be very clear. So that is UJ. By the way, guys, I like it. I like it right now because it's starting to move a little bit more, right? The choppy period is kind of over. We kind of shifted up a little bit. It was still a little bit choppy here for around 4 days, right? But when it finally popped, right now it could be time for the market to start attacking. For example, maybe we go all the way up here into that, what is it? Is it monthly or weekly? Yeah, it's that upper weekly balance. Okay, so this upcoming week as well with the decision from the Fed is going to be very key for the dollar. So make sure to observe it. And these are my 2 scenarios for USDN. But I would say I'm a little bit more bullish bias, just judging by, of course, what the daily time frame is telling me. And again, that weekly time frame, is it going to really hold? It's giving me signs that it doesn't really want to hold. So again, I would stick a little bit more to the long side here. Euro JPY, again, a pair that I do not understand why people would trade. Absolute chop on the monthly time frame here, dropping onto the weekly. Absolute chop on the weekly time frame here as well. It's taking liquidity, sure, all right, but no imbalance is created. Dropping onto the daily time frame. All right, we have the very first imbalance created on that pair, but that is a very bad imbalance. Why? Well, because it was created and it was swept here. So we swept all of these highs, right? And then we make an imbalance back into the range. Okay, if the market actually broke out of that liquidity and then it formed an imbalance above it, now that is a good trade. This is, by the way, a very big tip right here that I'm giving you. Okay, because this one can very easily once again turn into a sweep and attack the opposing side of the liquidity. Okay, but now of course if you're super mechanical, you can say, hey, daily imbalance, I'm going to be looking for the longs. Okay, and now of course you have to also observe the Volatility time frame at the same time, because what the Volatility is doing right now, who is in control on the FOH? Well, it's the bearish side. Okay, whoops, what did I do? It's the sellers. Okay, so the market tapped in that FOH that can drive us into the daily, and then from the daily you have to be looking for the shifts to truly confirm that the market wants to go higher towards the liquidity. And if that does not get confirmed, well, guess what? Volatility time frame is going to take over, bearish, and then we're going to be attacking the opposing side of the liquidity. And I would entertain that short idea simply because this here looks like a very nice sweep, right? We were really stuck for a very long time, and again right now imagine how many people are looking to long that. Where is their stop loss going to be? Down there. So if we start seeing a lot of bearishness right now starting to suffocate these long people, I definitely do think we can reverse potentially. So again, if you're trading Euro JPY, monitor your Volatility time frame and really monitor what is going to be happening from that daily, because this is technically your decision point for next week. And I really don't have any bias on these JPY pairs like EJ and GJ. I'm only trading UJ, but again, if you want my bias here, I would say it's a little bit more on the long side, which also aligns with the bias that I had on UJ, but I really want to see that daily imbalance hold here. Same story with USD JPY. Again, I can ask the question, why would somebody trade a price action like this? But of course, there are people trading it. Weekly was bearish, and right now it actually flipped a little bit more bullish, which once again gives a little bit more confidence on that long bias that we have on the USD JPY. And of course, at the same time, we also have that similar daily imbalance that we also have on UJ. We also have it on EJ. The market is tapping into the very last resistance area, which is this order block. And then, of course, the next liquidity point will be this high that we can potentially target. Now, of course, the very key question is, all right, how are we going to get there? Are we going to pull back into the daily and go from there? Are we going to pull back into the weekly and go from there? We don't know yet. Okay. And how are we going to know? By dropping onto the lower time frames and, of course, tracking them. Okay. Now, currently, again, the Volatility time frame was bearish. The market tapped into that Volatility bearish imbalance, rejected from it. So again, similar to EJ, right? Is this Volatility time frame going to hold and tap into the daily? And then from the daily, are we going to get the shift to go higher? This would be my favorite setup, honestly. If you're trading EJ and GJ, that is my favorite setup, tapping into that daily and then seeing the shift. That's all I can say right now, right? And if that daily fails, then that, of course, can drive you into the weekly. You see that's the beauty of it, because if you have these hard time frame areas, you know where to potentially expect a reversal from, but the keyword is expect a reversal, not a reversal is gonna happen from these zones, okay? And then, of course, the beauty of the lower time frames is that they're always gonna show you if the hard time frame zones are actually gonna hold, right? So, for example, if you take UJ, right, and you say, hey, weekly imbalance, right? Let me go down to the 15-minute time frame and like start and then take a short right here. Was there any short provided here? No. The market was making higher highs and higher lows. So again, this weekly imbalance here did not hold any importance. Okay, this is why, again, the combination of time frames is the key. That is GJ, long bias. Let's see how it goes. All right, let's have a look at some futures. Now, I had an amazing month with futures. My Forex was also profitable, but the futures was amazing because we had some crazy volatility this month. And we just entered bear market, by the way, right? 22% drop. And from the bottom right now, we are almost up another 20%. If we tap that monthly balance, we're going to be up from the bottom another 20%. So I hope you've been buying, guys. Hope you've been buying on that beautiful opportunity here. Now, we have this monthly bearish imbalance that is going to pose a lot of resistance right now if the market gets there. Now, I see a lot of YouTubers talked about this overall zone here, this kind of most traded area, this kind of very strong base, supply, whatever, right? What are the timeframes telling you? Who is in control? It was all the way, it was the longs, right? The Volatility timeframe never shifted. We just had like that little drop here that scared a lot of people out, and then we immediately reversed higher. And then, of course, we also had the confirmation on the daily time frame with this high, higher low, higher high, I was bullish, right? And right now we are pulling back, of course, into that monthly zone. On the weekly time frame, we don't have any imbalances to work with, so my next target will immediately be that monthly imbalance. Now also it was not the best week, honestly. I actually had 2 losing days. Friday was losing for me, and then I had another losing, which I don't remember which one what it was, but it was a profitable week, and of course it was a profitable month. But it was kind of a shitty week overall. You can see a lot of wicks, a lot of indecision, but then Friday really popped us higher because Microsoft earnings, a little bit of a positive news from China as well, and stuff like that. But there is my drone liquidity here, 57.75, very nice level. So of course, if we can trade into that, that would be amazing. Now, of course, how I trade futures is I don't trade them too much like Forex. On Forex, I'm always waiting for these hard time frame areas like daily and hourly. If the daily and hourly time frame are not clear for me, I usually do not touch Forex. But for indices, it doesn't matter that much because they are a volatile instrument, and then of course you can always scalp them, right? They are amazing for scalping. Now we're coming from that volatility zone. The market tapped this one. I was looking for the longs, but unfortunately it happened during Asia, and then we also had a pop during NFP, and then kind of I took some smaller losses, and then the market ended up moving a little bit on Friday, but I did not participate anymore. But still, who's currently in control? It's the buyers, right? We're forming forward bullish imbalances here. So I am just long biased towards that monthly imbalance. Now, of course, how are you going to take it? Well, the thing with futures is, because I'm doing an analysis every single morning for my private community, right? And when I analyze indices, I always tell them, right, I cannot tell you what is going to happen from right now, right? You have to show up, you have to wait for Asia, you have to wait for London, and then you just have to show up, for example, at 9:30 when the New York Stock Exchange market opens, and then of course read the liquidity, read the imbalances, and then just kind of try to flow with the markets once again, because this one does not work. Again, this is again that point that I made before, that the lower time frames are actually building up the higher time frames, and with a volatile and sentiment driven market like the indices are, right, you really have an edge here learning how to analyze the lower time frames. Okay, so that's kind of my outlook here. Again, I really don't know what to expect. I would expect some sort of a pullback and then just a continuation towards that monthly zone. That's it. That's what I expect. I'm going to be looking for longs going into next weekend. Of course, I always keep my eyes on the news. I always keep my eyes on the sentiment. I always keep my eyes on the stocks and everything. And of course, that helps me have a little bit more of a macro view. And currently, I'm bullish. And this is why we love tech stocks, right? From the top to the bottom, 27% drop. And right now from the bottom here where the price is, 22% already, right? Tech companies are really carrying the market right now as usual. Microsoft, really good earnings. I think we had Apple, really good earnings. We had a lot of companies just releasing profitable earnings, even though the market was fearing crash, tariffs, blah, 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 blah. Everybody's gonna die. Nope, right? The market is going up right now. And we can see that NASDAQ is actually tapping into that monthly bearish imbalance right now. So I would expect maybe some sort of a rebound. Now you can see NASDAQ is stronger than ES right now because ES2 has a lot of space towards that monthly, while NASDAQ is already tapping it. And of course, yeah, NASDAQ is already 22%, while ES was like 18% or something. And then of course, if we go to the daily time frame, kind of a pretty similar price action. Now there was a very tiny bullish imbalance here that made a NASDAQ a little bit better to long. I am currently mainly trading ES. NASDAQ is still kind of a little bit scary to me, but they usually move in tandem, right? If one does something, the other one is also going to do it. So not much of a big kind of difference. But again, we're tapping into that monthly zone right now, and that was supposed to reverse the market, that zone here. Everybody was looking for shorts from that zone. But you can see, right, who is currently in control? What's the current sentiment? It's the buyers, right? The market is starting to resume back the confidence. Investors are starting to really put in money right now. Especially, I knew that after this high here was broken, right? Because this was still a lower high, right? And then the market pulled back, held here from the FIPS, from the OBs, whatever it is, and then it pushed for a new high. That is a confirmation of a trend reversal. That is how I literally kind of trade. This is a very key and a very simple component, right, of price action. If you have a low, a lower high, you don't know yet. You cannot call a reversal, right? But if you have then a higher low and a higher high, okay, then that is a reversal. It can also look like that. It doesn't matter. What you need is a higher low, right? And even in this case, right, this is still a high, Okay, so then you would still need a higher low and a higher high to truly confirm that right now the trend is reversing, and you can see the pattern is exactly the same here, right? Low, high, higher low, higher high. There it is. Low, high, higher low, higher high, right? That is the confirmation of a reversal. And now, of course, again, guys, as I keep telling you, indices, they're not unpredictable. They're in fact quite predictable, but I cannot be dropping right now to like to 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute time frames to be like giving you some analysis when the market is closed and when, of course, we are working with a top-down analysis. But of course, I really like Nasdaq right now because it's super bullish. It has these folly bullish imbalances. It's going with a bullish order flow. The daily is bullish. Everything is bullish. Now, of course, we are entering into that monthly imbalance, and we have had, for example, right now 8 consecutive bullish candles. So I would expect at some point for the market to give us a little bit of a dip, right? A little bit of a drop. Now, of course, where is it gonna dip? Is it gonna come into to attack this liquidity level here? Is it going to just make a little bit of a brief pullback? What is it gonna do? We don't know, but I would expect any sort of bearishness, but do not let that bearishness scare you thinking, all right, we're gonna go lower. Okay, it's probably just gonna be a pullback in order for the market to resume. And I believe if we take out that high here at 2,500, let's say, then this is also going to be breaking like a major, call it like a weekly lower high. All right, and when this breaks, then of course we can probably start unlocking and looking for new all-time highs. Okay, now that is a little bit too much to expect right now, but currently the buyers are in control. If we have any pullbacks inside these levels, even if we pull back a little bit lower to take some liquidity, I will be looking for the potential longs. So that's my outlook on Nasdaq. And of course, YM that usually moves differently than the other two is kind of still the weakest, right? We have that monthly bearish imbalance here, but it's the furthest away from it, right? It still has quite some space to move towards that monthly, but on the weekly time frame, a little bit similar, but again, it's not so similar because this one is just tapping into a weekly bearish, while, for example, Nasdaq did not have a weekly bearish, while ES is already breaking above that weekly bearish. So YM is always like in a delay, right? Now, does that mean that it's if it's bearish that it's gonna reverse and it's gonna drag ES and Nasdaq down, or does it mean that it's actually going to follow ES and Nasdaq going higher? So there is a very good long opportunity right now. That has kind of always been 50-50 for me, right? But of course, it's the very same price action here. We're tapping into that weekly. We don't have kind of any daily zones to work with right there, which sucks, right? It has been pretty, you can see the candles have been pretty chopped up. The average true range also dropped significantly after we had some times of absolutely crazy candles. Okay, but of course, currently the volatility time frame very similarly to the rest. It's going long, but again, if you're looking to trade indices right now, YM is not the best one to be trading. Nasdaq is the best one because Nasdaq is the most bullish one. It's the fastest and it's going the highest, right? ES is always going to be a little bit of a combination between YM and Nasdaq, right? Which is why I like it. It's a little bit more balanced, but YM is usually kind of the black sheep. It always ends up doing something different. And a lot of times it's actually if you're like having a high probability setup on ES or Nasdaq, but YM starts doing something else, it then usually tends to drag Nasdaq and ES with it, which is something that I've really hated dealing with it, but I actually stopped looking at it way too much and just focusing on the price action of one instrument to keep it as simple as possible. Now, again, guys, what can I say here? We are tapping into that weekly, extremely bullish weekly candle. I would really be looking forward for a weekly bullish imbalance to be created here. So the market should not cross below this line. Like this is something that I should have mentioned on all the indices, right? A new weekly bullish imbalance after this incoming week is going to be an absolutely key bullish sign. Okay, so let's wait for it to form. Right now we can expect on all the indices a little bit of a pullback potentially, right? But hopefully not get towards that line. Like take this liquidity here, take this liquidity here, but please do not tap that zone, because if it taps it, invalidates a new weekly bullish, and that is a little bit of a bearish sign. Okay, but currently again pretty bullish. It's at the high on the daily, on the weekly. So what can I say, right? I can say I expect a pullback. I don't have any zones to work on right here, so I'm gonna just waiting for the market to open, let Monday pass, form some new zones, and I'm gonna be showing up every single day to just flow with it. We can see DAX, it's already going towards all-time highs. Again here, beautiful monthly bullish imbalance, absolutely crazy candle, getting us very close to all-time highs right now. The European index is really doing great. here again, like this is what I really want to see, guys, on the US indices right now. That beautiful weekly bullish imbalance. This is a breakaway gap. So we can already start expecting like that the market is going to reach the liquidity. Here we had a daily imbalance that the market did it pull back into it. Yeah, I think it tapped it. Yeah, it tapped it, and then from there it also went higher. Right now we have another daily one, but the market absolutely expanded here. So what you can do is you can wait for a new daily to form and then wait for it to tap. The market is currently going to take out that liquidity maybe to stop for a while, give us a pullback, right? And then potentially start going higher. But also in the quality time frame, you have some beautiful quality bullish imbalances. So this index is bullish all the way, right? Any sort of pullbacks here is going to be a potential long opportunity. This is a very fresh quality zone that you can be looking to trade. If you prefer to be a little bit more patient, I would say wait for a daily imbalance to form. So wait for Monday to pass, okay? Form that daily bullish imbalance here, and then you can look to trade it on Tuesday, Wednesday towards all-time highs. Like it's getting scarily close towards all-time highs, and I think it could just take them, right? Look at that. Like, why are US indices not working like this? This is, yeah, 23%. I mean, NASDAQ is also up 22%. So if you bought DAX and you're in profit here, or if you bought NASDAQ and you're in profit where it is, NASDAQ has a lot bigger profit potential towards its all-time highs. But of course, DAX, just very quickly, absolutely bullish bias. We have a weekly, a daily, and a quality zone. How do you know which one is going to get tapped? How do you know which one the market is going to react from? Lower time frames, guys. That's it. So let's wait to see if it pulls back. Let's wait to see if it holds. And then we have very clear liquidity targets to go for. All right, to throw a little bit of a recap now, the market is starting to make a little bit more sense, honestly, but currently we really have to wait to see how these weekly imbalances are going to react on the DXY, EU, and GU. For example, DXY is already tapping into the weekly, but it has a daily bullish, so is it going to come in a little bit deeper, or is it going to already start respecting the weekly? Because EU, it has a beautiful potential short opportunity into the weekly, which is something that I will be looking for. And then from the weekly, maybe look for a reversal. While GU the same, right? They're all kind of bearish right now. EU and GU are bearish towards the weekly, while DXY is already tapping into the weekly. So again, the question is the DXY going to come in a little bit deeper, or are EU and GU going to reverse? Okay. Aussie dollar and NZD dollar, also some very nice long opportunities. For example, NZUSD already tapped into the weekly and it's already starting to give us trend changes. It's already give us an indication of a shift in order flow. Aussie dollar, it's actually a little bit more bullish, already kind of sweeping above structure, which is something that I don't like, but it's also a very good long opportunity. So all the majors here look like longs, but I would really love to see that weekly imbalance to get tapped on EU and GU before I look for them. Gold also starts kind of pulling back a little bit more. Now, let's see. We have a weekly imbalance below. One weekly is already tapped. The daily is currently bearish. The quality time frame is currently indecisive. So on gold, guys, as usual, we have to wait a little bit more. This instrument is a little bit more like the indices, for example, where having like that top-down analysis is not always going to help you. What really helps, because this is also sentiment-driven asset, right? Money flows in and flows out very quickly out of it, because that's a commodity, right? It's like stocks, right? And you really have to be very careful to be analyzing the current sentiment, because again, if you watch my full gold outlook here, we have a lot of scenarios. USD JPY also starting to look a little bit more sense. It's a little bit mixed up on the time frames. Weekly bearish, daily bullish, hourly bearish, 1 hourly bullish, right? They're all different. So we really need to wait to see which one is going to take over. But I'm more bullish bias on USDN, just because of that daily, because the daily is really giving me that reversal pattern that I always like to see. So I'm going to be looking for longs, but where from? Well, that's what we're going to wait to see. EJ and GJ also giving us some longs, because the weekly is bullish, the daily is bullish, but I will be looking for a pullback into these daily zones and then to see if they're going to hold. Okay. And then of course indices, they are all bullish. ES has quality zones to work with. NASDAQ also has a quality zone to work with. Now, of course, we have that monthly imbalance that ES is about to tap. NASDAQ is already inside. YM is far away from it. So I would expect probably sometime soon, maybe a little bit of a pullback, a little bit of a kind of a deeper daily pullback. Okay. So anything that you get bearish, for example, don't get scared. It's probably a pullback, right? You can see on a downtrend here, a bullish candle gets sold off, a bullish candle sold off, the bullish candle sold off. So I would expect like something like this to happen, maybe bearish candle, then being bought up. So again, bullish bias on the indices, but again, I'm currently scalping them, so I do not really work a lot with hard time frame analysis. And of course, DAX also, like weekly bullish, daily bullish, hourly bullish, everything is bullish, getting very close towards all-time highs. So taking longs on that instrument is also going to be a very good idea. So guys, let me know how you perform this week. Let me know how you perform this month. Are you happy with your performance? Are you not? And what are you going to be doing better next month? And let me know what is your favorite setup looking for next week. And of course, we're going to talk again in the next weekly outlook. Wishing you a very profitable week and month ahead of you.